Welcome back, everyone. It's time for us to see where the mettle of BLG is truly tested. They are down to match point as Rogue Warriors take a 2-0 lead over them in the first two games of this series. They've shown they can compete. Game one, bit of a wash, perhaps maybe just some onstage jitters playing against freshly renewed Rogue Warriors. But game two, they went head-to-head for 57 minutes, and it was a single mistake that cost them the game. Could that cost them the whole series, or will BLG show us that they can recover mid-series?
I think it's important, again, game number one was execution almost completely, and there's a very high chance that you would say it, and maybe jitters on stage against an actual, like, real big threat of an opponent this time if Rogue Warriors show up to play. Always a possibility, right? It wasn't necessarily the draft. Game number two was the draft, but wasn't the execution. So for some reason, they've been able to chop and change what isn't working. But what if in game three, it both works? Then they should be able to beat Rogue Warriors based off what we have seen so far. Yet at the same time, this is a best of 5 series. They've lost the first 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
There is a mentality that you have to consider now coming into the third, where Rogue Warriors have got legitimate momentum, pushing forwards, looking for the 3-0, looking for the clean sweep. BLG now well and truly on the back foot, trying to find momentum and trying to find execution and draft simultaneously.
Yeah, just as much as we know BLG are an emotional team with Amazing J, able to pull off miracle plays that have literally gotten them into Worlds. We know Doinby and the Rogue Warriors are also just as emotional, if not more so. You just saw Doinby shouting at his screen before even getting into Champions. Like, this guy is hype. He's got some momentum under him. Is this going to be it, or will BLG show us why we call them the Miracle Makers? Rogue Warriors, with side selection coming into this Game 3, have opted to take red, and we now find ourselves in what could be the final pick and ban of quarterfinals.
Certainly starts to heat up now, particularly for BLG. Do or die for them. Rogue Warriors have got 2 extra chances. Coming into this third game and draft, not a crazy amount of changes to be seen from what is the first ban so far, but note that BLG are on the blue side. And what we want to see from them, what hasn't existed that we need, is a Sejuani. Pick the ball.
Something a bit more safe and stable for Chieftain. He played a Skarner in that game 1. In game 2, we got to see Rek'Sai. He looked a little bit more comfortable, but there is still massive pressure on him to perform, knowing his opponent is flawless. The Hunter jungler with highlight reels galore. And we'll see what the first pick is going to round out for BLG.
Could be a Tahm Kench, something to take away from your opponent of Kahlua. He had a fantastic game individually, a couple of suspect teleports here and there, but when it comes to the team fights, he is executing incredibly well. This is very different if they commit to that. That is a first pick of Zoe. That hardly necessary,
we talked
you would
about,
say, as a first pick.
Yeah, we talked about comfort for BLG in Game 2, taking champions that they're familiar with. This is probably the most comfortable champion for Mole in the mid lane. He's played it 3 times so far, has a 100% win rate. This will be his 4th, and he knows he's up against Doinby.
He knows it's presumably going to be a Karma. Something of the likes, because they didn't ban it this time around.
Again, with getting in their head?
Hey,
all right.
Doinby is a simple man in the best possible way. You leave Karma open, he picks Karma. And speaking of high win rates, him individually is most of the wins of Karma in our league.
Absolutely. So far, he's played it 8 times, 62.5% win rate, so 5 of those have been successful for him. But that Tahm Kench you mentioned before will now fall over to Rogue Warriors. Ooh, or could have been the deny there. Flawless knows what's up. Gave Sejuani the hover.
Again, this is scary. This is why I think you should not have gone towards the Zoe as a first pick. There has to be something on the agenda for BLG that we're missing right now. With that Zoe first pick, something has to follow it that makes the team composition for them and makes it a little bit more sound. Frankly, giving over Karma and Tahm Kench is asking to lose the game. When you are playing against Rogue Warriors, they can pick whatever they want third now in the AD carry role. They could pick the Sejuani in the jungle role right now and save their AD carry for later, and they are set to succeed. The composition of BLG, even with the Rek'Sai going down second once again for Chieftain, doesn't give me a composition, doesn't fill me with hope of what they're capable of doing until the third pick, if they secure themselves almost completely a pick comp.
Varus is the answer, and it looks like it could be. Chains of Corruption, the knock-up, plus Sleepy Trouble Bubble. And that could be to bait SMLZ into something unsafe, like a Kog'Maw. But we'll see what he's going to look towards. He's got so much protection and safety right now, and Kog'Maw will be locked in for SMLZ.
As he is wont to do, of course, he'll get a hyper carry for the bottom lane with the Karma already secured. Yes, it can flex if they would like Rogue Warriors, and that is one of the big strengths that they've got for themselves. But the Tahm Kench is already secured, so it's not going to be the case. Now you're looking for perhaps some damage from Mouse, a bruiser from the top lane, and Flawless to pick as he'd please, knowing that the jungle role is available to him. On the opposite side, they need their support, and that's already being focused.
Getting Rhodes champion pool to be narrowed down just a little bit. Rakan taken away. We already saw his Morgana in game 1. Perhaps they could look towards Amazing J with this next ban, because those are the two remaining, Road and Amazing J. Mouse on red side, perhaps crossing his fingers that he'll get counterpick.
The Kha'Zix actually being removed. This is still one of those moments where normally you'd be banning away mid laners from Doinb. The flex is no longer there. An earlier rotation, rarely seen, of course, by RW. Top lane could be looked at, but there's too many champions that you'd be banning right now. Maybe a Sion, because they get the first pick and Ornn's already removed. But Amazing J's happy to play that, happy to play into that as well.
Again, that jungle pool being narrowed down by BLG. We'll see what that top lane matchup is going to be, how Rogue Warriors want to prioritize this, what could be final round of picks before qualifying into semifinals. If they take this win, they take the whole series, and with all of that momentum behind them, Skarner is taken away from Flawless. All right, Flawless, real talk.
I like those bans.
Your Lee Sin
Oh, we're going to...
suffered some defeats.
You reckon?
And just because you lost to IG doesn't mean it's going to be thrown out. It's the confidence pick. It's game 3. He's up 2 games in the series, Rusty. He's got a Kog'Maw. He's got Doinb on Karma.
What has happened to Sejuani? Is she banned permanently? Is this like an internal agreement between these teams? So we're not allowed to pick one of the best champions to grace the jungle right now against the rules? It's because he's got a matchup into Rek'Sai this time, though.
Yeah.
I will say the Lee Sin, not always the best at dueling Rek'Sai. The knock-up does usually interrupt the follow-up on the Lee Sin Q.
Yes.
But it's still a good pressured jungler. And Chieftain now a little bit more hard-pressed with his positioning on the Rift. If he ever finds himself accidentally next to a Lee Sin and the Q hits, you are dead.
Should that ever be the case, certainly would be a scary scenario, but look at the tanks now picked up from BLG to protect their carries. They know what's coming. We know what's coming. The question is, will BLG be able to do what only Invictus Gaming have done and put Flawless's Lee Sin into the bin and give it another defeat? Cho'Gath is the final answer for Mouse in that top lane. But with that, Rusty, we've got our compositions.
We certainly do, and with that Cho'Gath, they do give themselves a second damage threat for Rogue Warriors, something that can enter the back line, perhaps pick off Jin Zhao, who has swapped champions to what SMLZ was playing in the second game. He's gone for the low range, but he's got an Alistar to back him up this time around. They've got the offensive 2v2 down there in the bottom lane. The Varus ultimate, coupled with the Zoe Sleepy Trouble Bubble as well, gives them a lot of mid-game strength, a lot of mid-game pick, and that is a place that you'll have to start to look towards with BLG. If that composition gets ahead, it is very dangerous and very hard to slow down on the snowball. But getting ahead against their opponent's composition is no easy feat.
Oh, yeah. Very mobile Lee Sin in the jungle, very safe Karma in the mid lane. Cho'Gath also very safe in the top lane. And then you've got the Kog'Maw Kench in the bottom lane to keep SMLZ safe. And while it might have been a defeat for the last time that Flawless was taking that Lee Sin against Invictus Gaming with a whopping, really bad KDA, 0, 7, and 3.
Whopping.
Yeah, really bad KDA. He's trying to fix it. He was 7.62 KDA over 5 games before it dropped down to 4.
Yes.
4.2.
He was 5-0 on the Lee Sin. He was very good on the pick, and it's still one of the legacy picks that he'll always be able to pick for himself. And a big complaint that everybody had about Flawless is he's a Lee Sin one trick. You know, why is he joining Rogue Warriors with an exploitable champion pool? And why is he joining this super hyped roster when all he has is one champion? It's so easy to exploit. Well, he doesn't just play Lee Sin anymore.
Yeah.
He's grown his champion pool. He's diversified. But that doesn't mean he can come back home here and there and have a good time on that Lee. He will do that, and he will still walk over you.
Playing against former teammates, Jin Zhao, Road, and Amazing J. His own former team. And now it's one nexus that stands between Rogue Warriors and the semifinals. Rogue Warriors and Rift Rivals. We are onto the Rift for Game 3. Couldn't even wait. He just leapt in there.
He's speed yelling.
Yeah.
Calm down, there's an order to it.
This isn't League of Legends done quick. Holy cow.
That's SMLZ.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my, look how excited
he's on the
he is.
Kog'Maw, yeah. Oh, he's on the edge of his seat.
Super pumped to be playing Kog'Maw. If you don't know SMLZ, he doesn't have facial expressions. We still haven't been able to confirm whether or not he is in fact a robot. More
He
news
can't get
as
close
we
enough
learn.
to him, yeah. But now we've loaded onto the Rift again. Defensive lines from the two teams for what is match point for Rogue Warriors. And they have a composition that thrives off of momentum, slow and steady. If they're able to take it and find it, it's just a matter of fact to close the game out, especially with Rogue Warriors' playstyle. But BLG, as you mentioned in Champ Select, taking a mid-game pick composition. If anything, can stop that boulder from rolling. This is it.
That certainly is, but they have to start strong as well. Kog'Maw, notoriously good for laning phase. What used to be a late game scaling champion does quite well in laning now, but has gone for the Tahm Kench with it, so they don't have a lot of raw strength. And at level 2, you'd still be looking towards Jin Zhao and Road having an advantage. At level 1, you would still be looking towards Jin Zhao having an advantage over SMLZ as long as the W is on cooldown. So right now, it's just headbutt city back and forth. And through all of this control that should be there if things go to plan for BLG in the 2v2, that opens up an avenue for Chieftain to go aggressively, to go forwards. And what we've seen to actually go around this fact, work around this fact, is that Chieftain's gone from top to bottom again.
Yeah.
He's still looking towards the bottom side, but so did Flawless. So he's now pathing back down towards here as well.
Chieftain, he's actually skipping his red buff, pinging onto the invade. I don't know if there was a baited blue from Rogue Warriors, as Road is now going to step up, ward over the wall, sees both the blue buff and the Gromp, even a ping out from Rogue Warriors as they know this is happening and have now spotted Flawless. Oh, makes it over the wall in time. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, blue buff resets it for him and the Ignite. He flashes, but he's got nowhere to go. This could be first blood, but Killua scoops him to safety.
That was such a cute little Sleepy Trouble Bubble by Mole from the middle lane. Having push, having control, and having the inside track enough to be able to cause this to happen is a great first step from BLG, and it will be the blue buff taken away, the Gromp to follow. As an end result of this, what was top to bottom pathing from each respective team doesn't give Rogue Warriors anything. In fact, the wave is pushing away from them, and they're losing control in the 2v2.
Things now not looking as great as you would hope for the Rogue Warriors, as Flawless makes his way back onto the map, longsword in hand, to clear out Krugs as best he can. Already a ping from BLG. They know where he's at.
But they'll know exactly where he is, because again, he started on red side, went towards Wolves, and they know that he's got to be only at Krugs and at the Scuttle Crab, which gives Chieftain the CS lead. You're already seeing 10 the difference between them. That continues to accelerate. That also means a CS, meaning experience rather, lead for Chieftain. So keeping Flawless down is a big win.
Could be the early level 6 from Chieftain if you were to try and break this game open even more. Meanwhile, recall from our two mid laners is double tier. Not expecting too much excitement in trading there as Mouse happily trades with Amazing J. Flawless is here, drops a control ward, sees another one, but Amazing J sees that control ward and has to back up under his turret.
Doesn't mean he's going to feel safe, so still a forced recall out of Amazing J. We'll probably just teleport back in and be fine in the end. Mouse playing against Amazing J, there's actually two ways for the Cho'Gath to cancel a Scion charged Q, so it's not an easy lane to navigate if you are the Scion in this matchup. In fact, it's rather infuriating because he just consistently cancels you when he has the Catalyst. And even though you're butting heads, you lose the mental battle for the most part.
Well, we don't have the Catalyst finished just yet from Mouse. Ruby Crystal and Sapphire, as he's going to use his own teleport to get back in lane and match that of Amazing J. So not going to expect these top laners to join the rest of the map anytime soon, which means that it is effectively a 4v4 for the time being. Killua still just keeping SMLZ safe. Road just going in time and again.
Due for a recall, though, Killua spent all of his mana. He's exhausted that mana pool trying to keep SMLZ alive, and they want to clear the wave and reset before they have to go back to base, because right now it could be frozen in one of the worst possible positions. And Killua is the only one that has the unsealed spellbook down there as well. So they need to make sure that the wave is set up in a way that SMLZ doesn't just instantly get collapsed on, and he can come back and still be relevant and doesn't waste the teleport.
Now, we did not see the red buff taken by BLG earlier. Chieftain will take it now. Gets him close to 6.
Yeah, in fact, he will probably be able to get the red buff one more camp and tick over to that level 6 mark From this point, though, with no camps available, we'll have to see where he does walk.
Oh, man. Road was counting the mana of SMLZ there. Steps up. Sorry, looking at the mana of Killua for the save. He thought he could pin SMLZ against the wall, perhaps burn a summoner spell, but just constantly trading. Scuttle Crab picked up.
Gromp will be 6 for Chieftain, and that'll be a 2-level advantage. He's got the smite advantage here as
Ooh.
well. But Flawless, knowing full well where he is standing around, hovering around his bottom lane, at the very least ensuring they stay alive to give the free teleport over.
Just constant harass from this Varus and that Alistar. Chieftain still hanging out down here. Mole still has push pressure in mid lane. He's able to show up down bottom. They see him in this tri-bush.
They're going to go for the dive here. They feel confident. There's no teleport from Doinby. So he just has to walk. And they may just kill Doinby on the way there if they choose to do so. This is very good from BLG. Showing reservations, but also still accelerating leads by small amounts in the early game. They are setting themselves up very well for what is to come. When they choose to dive, if it's an experience advantage, then it'll be more successful. I think level 6 does open up a Rek'Sai's avenues to dive.
Yeah.
Far better.
And look at the, he just ticks over to level 6 right now. Look at the CS advantage between those two. It was 10, now it's 22 jungle creeps between the difference of them. Flawless and Chieftain. Very clever early start from BLG to put Chieftain ahead. Mole on this comfort first pick Zoe of all champions.
Yeah, and it's the Zoe that does in fact make the difference, and Doinby has not been able to rotate nearly as much. And look at Mole. He's here again. He knows exactly where they're going to be. Places vision for the red buff. Chieftain still has an experienced lead, has the ultimate where Flawless does not. He's able to just get in, steal the red for free.
Flawless is starting to fall behind more and more. He's gone for the Tiamat before even finishing off a jungle item to try and clear faster, to try and get his own camps before the Rek'Sai does.
I actually like that decision. Again, with the no wards available on Lee Sin, so you can afford to go towards Tiamat, something that Trundle is even doing now in the jungle role. Keep up tempo when you're getting outpaced. It'll help him quite a lot.
And still fighting now over the Raptor camp. SMLZ is going to be saved again by Killua. Road ready for the stun. Just bops Killua in the face as they turn back around. Didn't quite see who ended up getting that Raptor camp on the top half, judging by the experience advantage. Chieftain, nearly 30 CS up now.
They're so well equipped to carry this game through with Mole. This duo, something that has been notoriously strong from BLG through the last parts of the split and the first round of playoffs. Seems like they're finally here to play in our third game of this set.
And this is where we look to Rogue Warriors. We know their composition. It's all about SMLZ's late game. They need to make it to the late game now. They need to stem the bleeding that Chieftain is just goring onto them.
Yeah, and with BLG having that mid-game style of pick comp, utilizing the Zoe and the Varus for that specifically, you'd expect that that is a very difficult thing to navigate if Zoe gets a lead or if Varus gets a lead. And right now it's only 10 CS in the bottom lane and only 6 CS in the mid lane. The person who has got the lead is actually Chieftain. So to be able to use a pick composition when it's only the Rek'Sai that's ahead does find itself very hard. It's very difficult to actually do. You need to be able to get leads on those lanes. So Chieftain is still the man we have to watch. He has been performing incredibly well. And not in this set so far.
Yeah. Well, you've talked about the Sejuani. He prioritized Rek'Sai along with Mole's Zoe over that Sejuani. So clearly it holds merit to him, at least in this series, for 2 games so far. Look at the vision control that he's already set up on that bottom side of the map, in the blue side of Rogue Warriors. He's free to invade and skirmish over whatever he can. Flawless is barely getting scraps of his own jungle as he finishes off Gromp and finally takes over to level 6, but it's about these lanes. How can he affect them and open them up? Ooh, Doinby gets hit there. Gets behind the minions, though.
Just gets smacked in the face a little bit by Mole, who's still doing a lot of damage when he's able to make those plays work and doesn't even need to hit the trouble bubble beforehand. Just amplifies his damage from distance and from being very cheeky with his positioning.
Oh, Chieftain's over the wall.
Flawless is hovering nearby though, so even with the lead, the turret can do a meaningful amount of damage. And here he goes. He is trying to make an impact towards objectives and specifically turrets.
That bubble will miss. The wave being cleared out just a bit. Road engages in the bottom lane to prevent any follow-up from Rogue Warriors. Just slowly but surely. It's the small incremental advantages. It's 1,200 gold for BLG so far.
Yeah, traditionally, you'd be looking towards the Rek'Sai going bottom lane with the Zoe, making the plays happen. You could bring down a Sion with a deep teleport as well if you wanted to flank that one. But because the mid lane turret has been so heavily chunked out, it seems like they're just pushing mid in, pressuring Doinby, and now they go for the immediate rotation.
They found SMLZ. Piercing Arrow doesn't find him, but that's going to be the Paddle Star. Chieftain still trying to chase, flash and heal utilized.
He was terrified. He did not want anything to do with Chieftain. Doinby's now here to try and defend and clear the wave.
Oh no, sorry. Spell Thieves from Mole.
Was the fake flash all along.
Yeah, picked up the flash from SMLZ and then headed back down to the bottom lane. They are defending the turret, though. You can see a lot of chip damage onto it, even more chip damage onto the mid-tier 1. And while they haven't opened anything up yet, they're well on track to.
This feels like a series adaptation from both teams. And I think to speak towards what I mean for Rogue Warriors, BLG have not been able to use leads to close games. They've been prolonging the game where they had the lead, and in the early game when they fell behind in game number 1, they just fell over. There was no real counterplay for them there, no real strategic influence in how they played the Rift, because their execution was just so flawed. I think they've gone for the Cogmore composition. They're like, okay, we will lose the early game if need be, but SMLZ will get farm. He will get items, and no matter what BLG try to do throughout this entire game, we're going to have a late game team fight. And so we've just picked ourselves for that team fight, and I invite BLG to try and stop us. And BLG have adapted. They have played differently.
They've accepted the invitation, it seems like.
Yeah, but they've also said we'll have an early game, we'll have a mid game. We'll try and actually win the game there to prevent you from getting to late game team fights where a Cogmore just outclasses a Varus.
Oh, Chains of Corruption. He's got no summoner spells. And Killua is pretty far away. He's got no flash either. Road is just walking along. Stun is not going to be used. And while we've got AJ joining in, that Sleepy Trouble Bubble, nowhere to go. First blood as SMOZ and Killua go down. Doinby denied the Blast Cone. 3 kills as BLG erupt from the shadows.
BLG just clean up shop, destroying Rogue Warriors. Mouse now stuck under the turret. No freedom, no way of escaping. I would probably just run if I was him. He's got tanks and the wave's about to crash. Try and get through the tanks, do your best, or stop them from getting in and hold the wave, but there's no safety.
No, this is the tragedy. A mouse in a trap. He followed the cheese and the trap snaps shut. Another kill to BLG, 4-0, 13 minutes in.
And this is what happens when you get a lead through the jungle and your jungler smartly influences the lanes, unlocks Mole, comes bottom, and then the team fight happens, the teleport happens. SMLZ and Killua with no summoner spells, completely caught out of position, and suddenly this game, what was just scaling, just holding on, trying to get to the late game for Rogue Warriors, just becomes a dead SMLZ and trying to keep him alive. And honestly, I thought that Road had overchased a little bit from this point. You can stay inside the Tahm Kench for 4 odd seconds. So everything's about to expire, there's no real opportunity, and then Zoe arrives. Mole's here once again, he makes the difference. He's able to hit the trouble bubble,
hit that?
bends the bullet once again, and then they follow it up, ensuring that there is no escape.
Yeah. 3 quick kills and that first brick going over to Jin Zhao. You can already see the gold difference between those carries. 9 CS, but a full Zeal completion for Jin Zhao with those kills and assists. And now this pressure is about to get a lot worse. Over the wall is Flawless. Flash kick delivers Mole forward. Doinby able to get the kill with Flawless as SMLZ joins up to find Amazing J. He's slowed inside of the jungle. Doesn't quite have the train just yet. Killua, let's see if he'll give that kill over. He will. SMLZ gets the gold.
Suddenly they give a kill to SMLZ. Suddenly there's 2 people dead from the side of BLG in a place where perhaps there shouldn't have been at all. BLG are still pushing for the turret though. They will get the top lane. You would expect here. They are set up at least to continue the gold moving forwards and the map control.
Yeah, look at the trade-off though. Rogue Warriors still pushing in that mid lane. They might have lost 2 of their outer turrets, but they're going to try and open up the middle of the map here for Flawless and just take down that mid-tier 1.
This is again the mistakes from the young members of BLG. Mole in this instance getting caught out of position. Flawless, if nothing else. He's still got the mechanics, but it's not like this was something exceptional. It's just that there was no flash available for the mid laner of BLG. And Amazing J was just the conduit with which he was able to close the distance. Good stuff from Flawless, gets himself into the game when he wasn't at all.
And this is where we look to Mole, you know, more volatile than Athena, the sleepy Korean in the mid lane, the newcomer to BLG. He's got higher highs, but he also has lower lows. And while Chieftain, a little bit more engaging than SKS, especially when pairing up with Mole, they're still able to make plays. They do take that Rift Herald.
It's hard to actually say what the lows are of Mole. Once or twice we've seen him caught out of position in games where they were winning anyway.
Once or twice. Remember his Galio?
Yeah, in games where they were winning anyway.
Oh, yeah,
Is
okay.
the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
So does it mean a lot? You know, the fact that he dies, they still get a turret top lane. I think it's just... It's a bit much. Like, yes, he shouldn't be getting caught out of position, but he hasn't lost them the games like some other mid laners for the team do.
Now Jin Zhao and Road finally going to finish off that mid-tier 1. It's 3 turrets to 1, and they've still got the Rift Herald for Chieftain. Doinby tries to clear it out while Mouse holds the fort bottom. He does not have teleport. SMLZ and Killua forced to back up all the way to the tier 2 as Flawless's jungle is no longer his.
And this is that point in the game where it's 4,000 gold the difference, and the lead is well and truly with BLG. There's a full item advantage for Jin Zhao over SMLZ, but they still need to make the next play and make it work. So from this point, with all of the outer turrets gone, with the hardest turrets left to break this early into the game, if they can make the play and snowball the game, then they will be successful. And they will be able to, presumably, of course, snowball it out. If they make a mistake, if they give Cog more entry into the game, anything further than they've already given up to him, the free kill's over, then things may start to equalize and may start to feel a little bit dire for BLG, even with the lead. Remember, that late game scaling is still there.
It certainly is. Mouse, this is a trap, but the question is, who's the one setting it and who's the one stepping into it?
They do know Flawless is there, so I don't think they were actually ever going to go for it.
5 members of BLG on that bottom half of the map. SMLZ solo farming up top. You saw the gold difference was about 1,400 between those 80 carries, another 900 in favor of Mole. And despite Chieftain's early advantage against Flawless, he's only 400 gold ahead from what we saw with the gold just displayed a moment ago. A lot of this gold is stacked onto Jin Zhao and Mole. It's how BLG utilized them to open a map that will dictate the pace of the next few minutes of this game.
I do think Banner of Command is going to play a pretty significant part into this when you've got the magic damage Cogmore. You've got a Karma in the mid lane, but here's the rotation. Rogue Warriors, there is an Infernal Drake available, and they know that BLG should be going towards it. They have the Scuttle Crab, so they've controlled it as best they can. And in fact, they get a turret. The Infernal Dragon will go down eventually, but it's going to be super slow from BLG. Slow enough that Rogue Warriors can respond to any kind of trade down that they were going to experience. They'll be able to respond and react.
Rift Herald now caught up by Mouse. That means Jin Zhao and Road are actually pushing in the mid lane. Mole looking for the Sleepy Trouble Bubble to deny some action. Dragon finally finished off. Rift Herald only going to chunk down that tier 2 to about half as SMLZ defends mid. And a good attempted play from BLG. They get a lot of chip damage onto these tier 2s, but they aren't broken just yet.
They are able to hold on to it, and again, that was that slow lumbering players. They're looking for Road. He's got a nice pulverize, will disengage it regardless, however. Still the poking forwards. This is where the composition of BLG can actually shine. Jin Zhao, Mole working together. If the bubble hits, the Varus ultimate hits, the other one will surely follow. And that's when someone just goes from 100 to 0 instantly.
Now we do see BLG utilizing their side wave pressure as well. That top minion wave crashing in, Doinby responding while SMLZ holds down in the mid lane. You really have to take the long route to go from tier 2 to tier 2 to tier 2 right now, as Mouse is pushing bottom with his teleport. And that means vision on that side of the map does belong to BLG, and Baron is up in 40 seconds.
And I feel like this is that instance in the game where BLG kind of suffered in game number 2.
Yeah.
They slowed the pace of the game down. They're sitting in it's in their court, the ball's in their court, and they're really set to succeed.
They're just passing it.
They're not accelerating.
Yeah.
And I think the Baron's just going to be the place where they use it to try and accelerate super hard. Being up in 20 seconds is a place they could look at, especially with Jin Zhao scaling up. But remember, any opportunities to Rogue Warriors, not ideal. They want to execute on this and play it out well.
Runans was just picked up by SMLZ. Still 1,500 gold down. The full BF sword difference between these two 80 carries. Baron, you can see spawning on the right side of your screen as Mole sets up one side wave. Doesn't have teleport, but he does have Unsealed Spellbook. And Amazing J is setting up bottom. This is the mid-game pick composition in mid-game around the Baron.
What I would like to see as well around this Baron is Amazing J to use the Banner of Command and walk here.
Oh, yeah.
I think if he's present and he can force a teleport, then that's already one step in the right direction. A little bit of poking in the red side jungle.
Just fighting over vision. Ooh. The bubble takes a moment to drop, allowing Doinby to walk to safety. Flawless still just fighting over ward after ward.
There you go.
One Paddle Star connect, and Flawless is chunked low.
It's all about the vision control first. When you have the pick composition, or you have the Zoe even in the composition, if you have vision control, you know how far you can step forwards.
That's actually the Scion ultimate bottom. Amazing J is trying to catch up because Mouse has used his own banner of command. That means they won't be at the exact same time. They will be staggered. So here's the opportunity for Amazing J to utilize his own on the next cannon wave in about a minute.
The 4v4 is still ideal for BLG. Again, if a Scion and a Cho'Gath never exist, that is still okay for their roster. But then there is going to be only the one tank available, and Rhodes' tankiness is based solely off his ultimate. He's not level 11 either.
Only level 10.
Still waiting for that moment, you know, that one time that someone goes forwards, and I never feel like Rogue Warriors need to, unless they have a major numbers advantage.
Well, they do also have SMLZ on their team.
Need, want. Yeah.
It's a fine line when with the sniper of the LPL.
Inventor or mad scientist?
Doesn't it depend on success? Is that the story we learned from Frankenstein? Mary Shelley's?
That's the ticket.
Well, I mean, they've made it all the way up to quarterfinals. They're up 2 games in this series. I think they've got some room to experiment just a little bit more.
Also hit 2 items onto their Kog'Maw, the place that you have to look at. They've been giving a lot of resources towards him. Still lots of pressure to be seen from BLG. Good night.
Oh, nobody's defending that. Flawless tries to go for their shield. Another Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and in the bounce house, Doinby goes down. Killua and SMLZ try to collapse and defend, but the tier 2 was already broken, and that's Mouse's teleport.
And they actually put SMLZ to sleep as well. Massive lead from BLG from just that alone. From just Doinby not using Cleanse.
Yeah.
From just dying because he forgets to use it or doesn't respect the damage that is there from BLG, and now they threaten the dive.
SMLZ is still in the front, scooped up by Killua, reset into the back, dodges the Paddle Star, but the tier 2 goes down. Now there's no turret, and Killua and SMLZ forced to fall back. 90 seconds for that Dragon, but that's another 2 turrets gone for Rogue Warriors.
And it's one thing to disengage well like they do there. It's another thing to actually hold their turrets before they fall. He just walks over it, doesn't cleanse, and gets put to sleep a second time. This whole time, he may have been able to cleanse Flash out. It's better to do it early, better to be safe than to die in a losing game. He's made to pay for it with his life. Once again, Mole is so clean.
Flawless retreating away from that Baron as he heals himself up, and you're exactly right. Mole on this comfort pick, the first pick Zoe. Look at his build. He's got the Lich Bane as well for more sparkles, more damage.
Yeah, maximizing his damage output. Gone for the Boots of Lucidity as well, so his itemization has the flat magic penetration instead. Wants to be throwing out all of the spells all of the time, snowballing this game out further. If he ever finds the target, which he pretty much doesn't miss at the moment, they will, I would say, get one hit at this stage.
Well, BF Sword finally finished off for SMLZ, but still 1,500 gold behind Jin Zhao. That's a finished Infinity Edge, and now Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. Rogue Warriors, they're slowly giving up ground in this mid-game. They've only got their base in the bottom tier 2 left, which means that Baron suddenly becoming a lot more of a viable strategy for BLG if they want to look for a pick.
Of course, Doinby is the primary AD carry of the team, so he will pick himself up that red buff. And vision still lies with BLG. They have control of the river almost entirely. Rogue Warriors are forcing themselves in to try and clear some away. There was also a lot of missing health from Flawless. Needs to be careful.
Yeah. Just constant skirmishing on the side. Amazing J teleporting in. Mole steps forward. Here comes AJ. SMLZ is saved at the last second by Killua, but Mouse is going to be the next target. He's chunked low and he goes down. That's a lot of damage from the Varus. They continue to run down Rogue Warriors as they try to get back into their base, but they cannot. A good kick onto Jin Zhao, but it's not enough. SMLZ dies. Doinby knocked up. He follows up, and while the play was spectacular to watch, that's still 4 members dead from Rogue Warriors.
The kick was not necessary at all. Mole's also just going to chase him down in the end.
Whoa, Flawless. Whoa! Almost gets the outplay onto Mole. Rusty, this could be game here. They turn onto the inhibitor, and BLG, 25 minutes in, they're onto the Nexus turrets. It's 7 seconds for Killua.
Right now they're going for it. They should be able to get this as well. BLG, they are putting a series on our hands.
They certainly are trying. They turn onto the Nexus. Killua's back up, but the Nexus is chunked down. And while Rogue Warriors respawn, it's BLG who are coming back to life.
And Game 3 is a culmination of a lot more strength from BLG. They finally found themselves. They're finally able to execute. They have an early game. They get comfort champions. They execute on the champions. The draft makes a little bit more sense for them when it comes to the style of play that they want to do. And that is get the picks off. Get the Zoe, more importantly, above all else. The first pick priority of it. Something that could always be brought into question. Why first pick the Zoe? Well, it doesn't matter if you're going to win with it no matter what.
Turns out that's why. The comfort from Mole to find pick after pick, and perhaps the disrespect from Rogue Warriors to not play at their maximum now finds themselves at a 25-minute defeat to BLG. And while we might have criticized BLG's ability to close out the game when they have a lead in the past, well, they fixed it here.
When you accelerate the way that you do with the composition that you have as well, it felt all too easy from them. And honestly, from the Rogue Warriors side, it all started at level 3 when the junglers met one another. But BLG were there to support Chieftain. He gets the blue buff, gets the Gromp, forces Flawless away, doesn't even have the flash available. And from that moment, every single buff or camp that he went to, Flawless, he was tracked, he was pinged out, he was spotted. And so there was no early game from Rogue Warriors. And not having an early game, not having your Lee Sin available when you picked a Kog'Maw down in the bottom lane, you just lose the map.
And now that's the second time that his Lee Sin has suffered a defeat, once at the hands of Invictus Gaming, and now BLG of all teams to take the win. That said, though, it's time for our analysts to break down this series that we now have.
And the series is done because BLG strike back. And we just got to talk about the tenacity from this team as well, because I would see a lot of teams just crumble after a 57-minute game like that, and it was just like, all right, that's lights out. That's the end of the series. But BLG, and also the fact that those rookies as well are able to bounce back. We saw them the other day not look too hot after that pause. Good stuff out from BLG.
That's the thing with BLG. They find themselves into playoff time, and there's always something, be it a pause for a mouse issue or getting down really early on. It just comes down to a point where they do have a strong mental tenacity, once again showcasing it.
And a lot of the credit to the veterans. You said it yourself, head in hands. AJ did not look pleased after game number 1. Game number 2, that's a horrific defeat to suffer, but bouncing back and organizing his rookies.
Yeah, that's when you can really make miracles happen off the back of Amazing J. But let's start off in the champion select here and take a look at what BLG drafted, because this is also into Rogue Warriors, and I think for the first time this series that they've really suffered in at least in the laning phase. They sacked a lot of the laning phase just to go for comfort, it felt.
Multiple lost priority for Rogue Warriors. But again, if you could hear the crowd, I'm sure you could through the stream, crying out every single time one of these picks was locked in. This is all comfort pick for Rogue Warriors. These are all their signature picks, and so it did feel a little bit like some hubris, coming in, looking for the 3-0, wanting to just end this quickly. And on the other side, we finally got a BLG composition. I know you want to talk about Rogue Warriors, but I am so excited to finally see BLG actually play their BLG style.
Because there's a stark difference from one team that's trying to do donuts on the track before they actually finish the race, and another team that decided they're going to play a composition they've played throughout the regular season. So this was comfort for BLG.
Just got on the bus, Raz. Your team's been here since the very beginning. Mine, skipped their Wheaties. I don't know if maybe it was the sushi rolls earlier on, but finally things have settled down, and it looks like we actually have a series on our hands.
Do you feel it's too little too late, or this is a BLG who can bounce back for us?
I did not expect any team to come back after that 57-minute loss, especially after the tilt. It went from 22-minute victory or 22-minute loss to 57-minute loss. I thought BLG were going to be done. I thought there was a Rogue Warriors sweep. Good things. I'm just happy to see this.
Look, I've seen my fair share of LMQ best of 5s. Never count them out. Never count a team out in the best of 5. Never say that it can't get to that for the 5th game. So it's very possible, especially with the BLG showcasing that they can still have the early game priority. If they go back to what they did in this game specifically and try to emulate that in the next and afterwards, it's actually going to be on Rogue Warriors to try and contest that.
It's also about the read on Rogue Warriors. So they constantly are having this Rek'Sai priority. It's been the priority through the entire series, and so that's them then deciding that this champion has the best mix of tracking ability to keep track of where Flawless is and stall out that early game pressure from Rogue Warriors, but also has the dueling capabilities that if Flawless wants to go for these Lee Sins, wants to go for the Olafs, that you kind of have this dual threat jack of all trades pick, and this feels like the pocket pick for Chieftain.
That's why when we come towards the jungle pick, Lee Sin out of meta. Level 3 jungler. Sure, you can have your snowballing effects and have your kick, but I feel like you should just go towards the Sejuanis. You should probably go towards a more team fight focus, especially if you're trying to find a way into these team fights.
I mean, the caveat, of course, like you said, the snowball there. 8.6, a lot of power was put back into Lee Sin,
Yeah.
the energy regen, as well as his ultimate getting just flat buffs. And so I feel like while it does make his options a little bit more binary, he's effectively saying levels 1 through 5, I can maybe try to beat Rek'Sai on the ganks, but I still need to avoid her because she has pressed the attack Rek'Sai. And then level 6, I'm basically just racing towards 6 and then rocking into Rek'Sai's jungle and just trying to outburst her. But he doesn't have a lot of gank potentials when you look at the lane. So I don't necessarily mind the Lee Sin pick, I mind it in this composition.
Yeah, like the idea is there, like Lee Sin, it's also like flawless Lee Sin at the end of the day, and you're looking to bridge the composition into mid game. But yeah, it didn't really work out in game. I do want to take a look at a replay though with BLG actually striking first. You know, this was the first time in this series we got to team fights where BLG were ahead, and it started here.
Yeah, big focus is that this is the first time we're seeing BLG play towards the bottom side in this series, and that's what's been a real strength for them, of course. Varus allowing to start the action, and it makes it so much easier when the flank comes through, somehow weaving it in to get SMLZ. And this goes on quite some time to get another kill as well, because also the TP comes through a little earlier on from Cho'Gath, so they decide to keep him penned in on that turret, so that's a massive advantage from BLG right from the get-go.
But this is the blueprint that's been created for defeating Rogue Warriors. We had both Suning Gaming and Invictus Gaming that showcase that if you just dive Rogue Warriors repeatedly, this is how you undo the team. Again, coming into this playoff series, Rogue Warriors have been on a massive loss streak. This is the first time that they've looked good in weeks, so BLG, you had the game plan, the formula. Like, I gave you all the answers. What the hell happened in game 1 and 2? Why is this just coming out in game 3?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rogue Warriors, they have one punch. Yes, they do it very well, but it's very obvious what they're looking for, and that blueprint was there. They got exploited towards the end of the split. This time, though, we saw more out of Mole and Chieftain as well when Road was not being a wanderer and walking over the map. So, in fact, Mole will take our man of the match out of the third set, the one that has brought them back into the series.
And the thing is Zoe's not played a lot globally, but she has played a lot in the LPL, and we have a lot of very good Zoe players. I expect this to now be the pivot point around this match, especially for how comfortable Mole
is on
has
Zoe.
looked.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Zoe. A lot of people are worried about her push potential, but if you just kind of mask that, get a band-aid on that with Minion Dematerializer, a lot of times you can actually join your team. You can get unlocked from your mid lane. So that fight that we saw, that replay, was another, I guess, example of Zoe just being able to join the fight really early on. So that's awesome if you can get out of the laning phase, and he was able to do that.
And that comes back to Rogue Warriors draft phase. The fact that they were showing some of that pride, that they picked Karma Kench in the first rotation together, meant that they couldn't flex the Karma into a support position to try to match the wave clear across from Zoe by picking up a Dematerializer.
Yeah.
Maybe going for one of those Rise picks so you also have kill pressure on her.
First look at what we've really seen from Rogue Warriors in this set. We'll see if they can bring it to a game 5 and BLG can fight back once more. We're going to take a quick break before we get to that fourth game.